Thanks for listening to this episode of Orion's From the Battlefield to the Boardroom podcast. We've partnered with Mutual of Omaha Mortgage for many years now as part of our mission to help provide a variety of resources to help veterans succeed. A VA loan is a federal program that has helped millions of veterans achieve the goal of homeownership. While many military families have benefited from using the VA loan, there's some misinformation and lack of understanding of the full range of benefits that has led to its underutilization. In today's show, I'm joined by Chelsea Vandersnick, VP of Education at Mutual of Omaha Mortgage. Chelsea shares her deep wealth of knowledge about VA loans, telling you everything you need to know from eligibility, how it can be used, and why it's so important to work with a well-educated lender. If you're in the market to purchase or refinance a home, you don't want to miss this episode to learn all of the ins and outs from Chelsea. Visit us at the link in the show notes to learn more about Mutual of Omaha Mortgage and how they can help you achieve your home ownership goals. Hi, Chelsea. Thanks for joining me today. I'm so excited to have you. We've been partnered with Mutual of Omaha for many years now. I want to say 5, and have done a lot of great education pieces on VA loans and working with Mutual of Omaha. I know you guys do some seminars with our audience as well, some online ones that we've had a lot of people register for over the years. And so I thought, what better way to kind of repackage that information and deliver it via a podcast. So looking forward to diving into that. Before we get started, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me today. And everybody at Mutual of Omaha Mortgage has loved the partnership that we've had with Orion Talent over the last couple of years. For me, how I kind of got started with serving, not just through education, but the passion of serving those who serve, actually started probably way further back than most people realize that have spoken to me or worked with me. And it's going to date me a little bit when I start dropping dates and whatnot. But when I was in junior high, in 7th grade, is around the time September 11th happened. And I had an English teacher. His name was Mr. McKenzie. He was in the Marine Corps Reserves. He was my favorite teacher. He was actually called up and deployed overseas to the Middle East in the wake of the events that happened after September 11th. And so seeing the impact that had not just on the students in our school, but our community and his family and all the other families that had members that were called up to serve at that time, it really had a lasting impact on me of exactly what that meant to so selflessly give yourself to your country, even if that means leaving your family back stateside, leaving your job, like in his case, because he was in the reserves. And so I started thinking, what are ways that we can show gratitude and thanks for that service? And so in 7th grade, you're kind of limited on the things that you can do. But one thing I thought about is we could do a drive, same like when we do like food drives, and things like that. We could do a drive to put together care packages to send overseas. And so we did this huge drive right around the holidays. We collected enough items to be able to send to his unit and to neighboring units overseas. And everybody within our school made Christmas cards. We sent those over there as kind of just like a feel good thing from back at home. And it was something that really stuck with me of that purpose in serving those who serve. And so I started getting involved in a lot of local military affiliated organizations in my local community that served both active duty service members and their families as well as veterans. And I just kind of carried on with that volunteerism throughout my rest of time in school. And then when I got into the working world and was deciding, okay, how can I match passion with purpose, with income, and all the things that you need? And one of the things that I love is the idea of helping somebody become a homeowner, because there's such an important feeling in having a place that you can call, your sanctuary. But there's also an additional piece of when you can help a veteran use their VA home loan benefits to become a homeowner. And so my entire career, I've been in real estate and mortgage since 2011, has been about serving military members and make sure that they have full awareness of their VA home loan benefits in all the different facets and ways that they can use them. And that's why this partnership is so special between Orion Talent and Mutual of Omaha Mortgage, is because I know that we share the same mission in making sure those veterans know exactly what all they have available for homeownership.
I love that, Chelsea. I think that speaks volumes about you too, that such a tragic event inspired you to be so involved from such a young age and then sort of continue to make it your purpose in life and the career that you chose and everything. So I think that's great. So thank you for sharing all of that. And like I said, I want to talk a lot about the information that you shared in the seminars. And some people who see this might recognize you from the seminars because a lot of people register for those. So, um, if they do or don't, maybe there's someone listening who doesn't really know much about VA loans in general. So can you just maybe tell us a little bit about that? So in simple terms, explain to us maybe what the VA loan benefit is and how it differs from other loan types.
So the VA home loan benefit, in my opinion, and I've been doing this for many number of years, is one of the most superior lending options that's out there when it comes to purchasing a home. If I were to give you like a quick little 2-minute elevator pitch, some of the things I would highlight on is that it is 100% financing, meaning you're not going to have a down payment at the time of closing. You're going to have an incredibly competitive interest rate in comparison to other types of financing. And then when it comes to your monthly payment, you're going to have a lower principal and interest portion because of those interest savings. Then you're going to have homeowners insurance, property taxes. But one thing you're not going to have in comparison to other loans is monthly mortgage insurance. Now, homeowners insurance protects the home, in case of like a weather event or something that happens to the home itself. Whereas mortgage insurance protects the lender against somebody defaulting or not making their mortgage payments. When it comes to VA home loans, you don't have to pay that monthly premium like other homeowners do. The VA actually covers that on your behalf as a thanks for your service and as part of the benefit. So you're not only getting savings through the one-time savings at closing with no down payment, not just the savings from a lower interest rate, but also you're saving sometimes hundreds of dollars a month in not having that monthly mortgage insurance. So it helps stretch your buying power for what you're looking to purchase, but then it also just gives you an incredible savings that you can use to allocate towards other things in your life. As an example, if you're looking at purchasing, say, a $350,000 house and you're deciding between an FHA home loan and using your VA home loan benefits, over the full 30 years of having your house, you could end up saving over $100,000 in interest and mortgage insurance savings by using your VA home loan benefits as opposed to an alternate type of financing. So they really, really add up. And again, the only reason you have access to this benefit is because of your time in service. So that's what makes this such an awesome thing for people to be able to take advantage of.
I like that number that you shared because I think there are so many things that go into a loan, and you think about interest rates and, like to your point, PMI, and you don't really think about it over the course of the loan. But when you look at a number like that, $100,000, it's significant, and
It's
I think it would be
huge.
significant to
Yeah.
anybody. Yeah. So that's really important. And then you just mentioned it's something that you're eligible for based on service. So can you talk a little bit more about the eligibility? I'm guessing you probably get lots of questions about that.
We do, yes. And this is why it's so important that when you're looking to get pre-approved to buy a home, that you work with a mortgage lender that is seasoned in understanding what those eligibility requirements are. For those who are serving active duty, once they've served 90 continuous days in active service, they become eligible for VA home loan benefits. Now, for somebody who's serving in the National Guard or another reserve unit, their time in service is a little bit longer. It is a full 6 years before they become eligible for their VA home loan benefits, unless they've ever been activated and then served over 90 days in activated service. Then that will accelerate that waiting period. But one of the things that often can get confused, especially like with National Guard or reserves, status, is a lender may tell somebody, hey, you don't actually qualify, when if they would have pulled the right documentation, like that veteran certificate of eligibility, they would be able to see, oh, you actually meet some workaround circumstances to get access to your VA home loan benefits sooner.
Got it. It sounds like, and we probably will get into this a little bit more. It sounds like there is a great deal of potentially like a disconnect if you work with a lender who doesn't know those workarounds. And maybe that's kind of why VA loans are a little bit underutilized, is because people work with lenders who maybe don't know all of the ins and outs of it.
So I'm going to let you in on a secret, which is I know that this will get shared, so it's not going to be a secret for long. But when somebody becomes a licensed mortgage loan officer, you get a lot of education up front. Like you're hit with, 20 hours of federal education plus whatever state education. But the thing is, because there's so many different loan programs out there, you'll hear conventional, FHA, VA, USDA, all of these different condo buying options, townhome buying options. You're hit with a lot of information, but only teeny parts of each individual loan option that's out there. So what's troublesome is unless that mortgage loan officer goes out themselves and says, I need to make it a point to further educate myself about this specific loan product so that way I can become the subject matter expert, I can best serve my clients, they're just walking away from these teeny tiny bits of, education that they're not able to fully serve that person for everything that they have involving their benefits because they simply just don't have the lack of knowledge or they didn't take the time to go out and find a mentor in the industry that could help them with that or seek out the education and become, more diverse in their skill set of understanding how the VA home loan works. And that's why as a consumer, I mean, this is not just with mortgages. The term shopping around, man, it is so easy to do, especially in today's day and age when you have the power of the internet behind
Mhm.
you. You have the ability to reach out to multiple different folks, loan officers, different companies, things like that, to be able to interview those people to say, hey, is this going to be the right person to help me with my home purchase? What's their background? Why is this important to them? And I think that's such a valid question to ask any loan officer, especially when it comes to the VA home loan, is what's your experience with VA home loans? How many veterans have you helped purchase a home? Why is this important to you? Those are all questions that will be very telling about if you're working with the right person for your home purchase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is one of the things I'll say about the fact that we've worked with you guys for so many years. And to your point earlier about how we kind of have the same mission and just in terms of helping veterans in their transition and then beyond in this case, um, is that I can tell that is something that the Mutual of Omaha Mortgage team is very passionate about. And it's not just about, getting people from us to convert into loans. It's really about the education piece, which is why you guys have been so generous with doing so many seminars and this podcast even, because again, it is more of an education and just trying to tell people what is available to them versus trying to push them in your direction, which I love. I think that's great. Um, One of the things that we had talked about, and that I know you cover in the seminar, is the 4 pillars of a mortgage. So can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yes. So when we are looking at qualifying somebody for a mortgage, a lot of times there's confusion. What do we look at? How do we gauge things? What's an underwriter do? What's a processor do? And I always say there's 4 individual pillars that we qualify somebody for. And to make this real easy to understand, let's say the mortgage is the tabletop and then the table is held up by 4 legs. Now, we all know that even if one leg of a table is a little bit shorter than another one, or even if one of the screws are loose, the table might be a little bit wobbly, but it's still able to stand at the time of closing. Now, these individual legs, the first one is income. So, what income does that person have coming in monthly that will allow for them to make that monthly mortgage payment? Not always active employment incomes, could be retirement incomes, service connected disability, but what reoccurring monthly incomes are coming in to be able to support the repayment of that mortgage payment. Now, the second leg of the table, so to speak, is credit. So, credit, it's one of those necessities of being able to finance things, whether that's an auto loan or a personal loan or a mortgage loan. We do look at the information from all 3 credit bureaus. Yes, we're looking at credit scores, but that's only a piece of it. We are digging into actual credit reporting histories to see what the trends are in somebody's credit, how they pay their bills, how long they've had their debts established, how they've, managed their finances over the years of having credit established. And then the third leg is their assets. So with assets, in most circumstances, there's not going to be a down payment required on a VA home loan, but there are still third-party closing costs. The third-party closing costs goes towards the third parties that help get the loan to closing. So lender fees, if they are applicable, appraisal fees, credit report fees, title company fees, homeowners insurance. Those are the costs that have to be paid at the time of closing. That, yes, on VA home loans, it can be negotiated by a real estate agent that those are paid by the seller. It's not mandatory. The seller doesn't have to. It's something that can be negotiated. But if the seller's not willing or able to do that, those are costs that have to be paid by the veteran or active duty service member. Most commonly, checking or savings account, but it could be a gift of assets from a family member, or maybe if they're selling another home prior to this purchase, they could use the proceeds from that as well. And then the fourth and final leg is the property itself. So this one doesn't so much have to do with the veteran other than the fact they're picking the home out as the one they seek to purchase or refinance, but we're making sure two things are okay with the home. The first one, does it meet all minimum property standards? So is it considered health-wise and safety-wise compliant to be deemed move-in ready at the time of closing? And then also, is it valued at what we're in contract for? Because we never want somebody to go in at closing in a negative equity situation. So we're always going to ask that appraiser, hey, based on what the agreed upon purchase price is, are all the other homes that have recently sold in the market around the same amount to say that, yes, this is a good agreed upon market value?
Got it. Now, I remember years ago, and so the stat maybe changed, and you maybe know what the updated one, but I feel like it was years ago. I thought something like only 12% of veterans were utilizing a VA loan. Does that sound correct? Is that
It's
probably updated by
so
now?
it's gone up if you look at it year over year. But
Okay,
if
good.
you look back, so the VA home loan is actually 80 years old. It was first
Mhm.
established in 1944, so coming off the end of World War II. Since that time, only around 27 million veterans over 80 years have used their VA home loan benefits. But like in
Interesting.
comparison, in 2020 alone, 1.2 million service members used their benefits just in that year alone. So if you look at
Okay.
just south of 27 million over 80 years versus 1.2 million in 1 year, we're starting to really trend upward, which a lot of that is the benefits evolved over the last
Hmm.
80 years to really become more beneficial to the veteran, but also because of like our partnership and the
Yeah.
educational awareness, there's more and more people standing up saying, hey, we need to bring awareness of this amazing financing
Yes.
benefit to veterans and their families.
Yeah. I mean, that's very good to know. And one thing I referenced earlier was just some misconceptions. And I'm sure that you hear a lot of those and have people asking you questions that you can do your best to educate them on. But I know we talked about some of the most frequently asked questions. So we'll role play for a minute and I'll pretend that I am asking you these questions about a VA loan. So, can I use my VA loan for new construction or home renovation?
You can. And there's actually a couple different ways that you can accomplish that. So, if you are deciding that you want to purchase in one of the spec or model home neighborhoods, this would be where it's, more of a larger builder that they own all of the lots in that community. You're going and you're visiting different model homes, you're picking out what floor plan you want, and then that builder is carrying the cost of the construction to the end. We could come in, use your VA home loan benefits in that scenario. Or if you want to custom build, so you want to buy land and you want to custom design and build your home, we have an option for that too. It's called the VA one time closed construction loan, and it will allow you to go out, buy land. And if you already own land, we can make that work too. But go
Mhm.
out, buy land, custom build a home, all inclusive in one singular loan closing that will allow for deferred mortgage payments while the home's being constructed. So you don't have to worry about being doubled up with, two housing payments at one time. And then it's going to allow you to accomplish that goal of being able to build a house from a ground up exactly in the location you want it. And then sometimes it's not always about new construction. Sometimes it's about, if you're an HGTV fan and you want to come in and renovate a home and things like that, we have an outlet for that too. The biggest thing with renovation, you have to leave the original four walls and foundation. But outside of that, if this is, a home that's maybe two bedrooms, one bathroom, like a ranch style home, and the family has four kids and they decide, hey, I need to be able to have more space, we could hack off the roof, add on a second story, expand the main level square footage, finish the basement. Like there's so many cool outlets that we have for renovation for existing construction as well, that we love those scenarios. Those are fun. It's cool to work through the different numbers and find out how we can flex VA home loan benefits to really work in those solutions.
That's awesome. So it's kind of a creative way to still allow veterans to be able to use it. And you're right. This is kind of the era of HGTV and flipping. And so I'm sure you see a lot of interest in that, potentially even over the new constructions. That's great. Okay. So I have already used my VA home loan benefit. Can I use it again? And is there a limit to how many times I can use it?
Yeah, so I'm so glad that you asked this question because there are so many common myths and misconceptions around this. Your VA home loan benefit is not one-time use, and it's not just transactional where you have to buy a home, then sell it before buying it again. You have a lot of different options to be able to build generational wealth through the reuse of your VA home loan benefits. Now, there's two types of reusing your benefits. Either one will accomplish the ability to use your benefits over and over. And the first one's called restoration. This is where if you did buy a home and you decided, I do want to sell this home prior to the purchase of my next home, you would sell it, whether you sell it the same day, like maybe we're closing on your sale at 10 a.m. and you're closing on your purchase at noon, or you're spreading them a week apart or whatever the distance is, we would look to restore your benefits. So that bucket that all your benefits were in, once you sell that home, will restore all those benefits back in full for your purchase. Now, if you decided you didn't want it to just be transactional, where you go from one home to the next, but you wanted to retain ownership over a home that you've previously owned, maybe turn it into a rental property, that's where we can do subsequent use, where we're going to allow for you to retain ownership of that home and then use your bonus entitlement for the next home purchase. And how that works is you have to meet minimum occupancy requirements. So you do have to live in that original home for at least 1 year, unless you've had a valid change in circumstance, like a deployment, a relocation, maybe you're getting ready to ETS, or you have a growing family, or a qualified situation like a financial hardship related to a divorce or a death in the family would also kind of speed up that 1 year waiting period. But for the most part, we're going to say 1 year, a 12-month commitment to living in that home. And then once you've met that minimum occupancy period, you can come back to us and we'll look to see how much bonus entitlement that you have to be able to make future purchases. Now, what bonus entitlement is, the basics are you have to be purchasing a home with a loan amount above $144,000, which we're in 2025. That's not really hard to do. Like I laugh, like my first home that I bought, was I think 120,000, and that was
Yeah.
back in 2013 or 14.
Mm-hmm.
Some nooks and crannies of the country, you can still get away with that, not too many. So most folks
Yeah.
don't have troubles being above that minimum $144,000 loan amount. But how we can qualify you for how much bonus entitlement you have is going to be based on the county you're purchasing it. Each individual county across the country has a county loan limit. So for VA home loans, what we'll do is we'll take that county loan limit, we'll subtract the amount of your departure residence that you have already wrapped up, and then we'll see, okay, what's the remaining balance left over? That is now your spending power that you can use to purchase another home. So say, for instance, I'm just going to use easy numbers here. Say your county loan limit is $800,000 where you live, and the current home that you live in is $200,000. When we look to qualify you for your next purchase, I would say, okay, your county limit is $800,000. You've already got $200,000 from your existing home wrapped up from your benefits. You don't plan to sell that home. So what's left over? $600,000 in purchase spending power. So however you decide to divide that up, maybe this time you purchase a $300,000 house. And then next time you purchase a $500,000 house. You could do that because when you add all of, those, well, that math doesn't math, but when you would add it up, you can kind of disperse that however you want. And that's how a lot of veterans do build generational wealth, is because they will purchase home after home, but not sell them as they're moving out of them. They'll turn them into rental properties. So now their tenant is making their mortgage payment. They're still building up equity through the market and also those monthly mortgage payments being made. And so it creates an incredible opportunity to build passive income streams outside of just what their normal streams of income are coming into their home.
I like that. That's a good point. I think I've even had someone on the podcast before who was a real estate investor, and that's kind of how he got his start, was utilizing his VA loan to do that. And I don't think a lot of people even really think about that as being an option. Um, I mean, I'm sure you hear lots of objections, especially in today's market. It's just a little bit different. People just feel like, oh, I would be losing so much money by buying a home. But really, it's the opposite, especially when you're utilizing your VA loan benefit, because there's so many ways to make it work for you. And to your point, increase your spending power and be able to create that passive income. So I think those are really good points to drive home, because I don't know that a lot of people think about it that way.
Yep.
Um, okay, so my next question is, can my non-spouse be my co-borrower on my VA loan?
Yes. And there's two different ways to do that. So if your non-spouse also happens to be a veteran, we can still offer 100% financing. So we'll take 50% of each of your benefits to make up that 100% at closing. But if your non-spouse co-borrower is not a veteran, this is where, if you remember back to me saying not all VA home loans require, a down payment, when there is a non-spouse who is also a non-veteran on the loan with you, you will need a minimum 12.5% down payment. Now, where that number comes from, the VA, so the Department of Veterans Affairs, as a mortgage insurance guarantee to the lender. So that mortgage insurance, right, that protects the lender against mortgage payments not being made. They guarantee up to 25% of the home's value as the mortgage insurance guarantee. Don't get hung up on that number. Just know that's a really good number. That's a really stable guarantee. That's why lenders can offer such amazing terms on VA home loans.
Mm-hmm.
But the VA will only do that for you as the veteran, or you and another veteran, or you and your spouse. So if there is a non-veteran, non-spouse that you have with you on the application, whether that's a significant other or like mom or dad co-signing, that's when they'll only cover half of that 25%. The other portion of it needs to be paid in the form of a 12.5% down payment. But where there's still a benefit is, even if somebody was putting down a 12.5% down payment, unlike an FHA home loan or a conventional home loan, they're still going to have monthly mortgage insurance, and they're still probably going to have a higher interest rate. So yes, that's a big chunk of change, like 12.5% based on any purchase price is going to be a big number. But at the same point in time, if you do have those funds available, it is still worthwhile to use your VA home loan benefits as opposed to a different type of financing.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, my last question, which I'm excited about this one because I feel like I do know a little bit more information just from working with you guys, but does my service connected disability qualify me for additional discounts with my VA loan?
Yes. So with having a service connected disability rating, whether it's the minimum 10% all the way up to 100% or any number in between, will qualify you for VA funding fee exemption. So all government backed home loans, FHA home loans through the Federal Housing Administration, USDA home loans through the US Department of Agriculture, or VA home loans through the Department of Veterans Affairs, have a mortgage insurance cost owed at closing. It's just a one-time cost that's rolled into the loan amount most often. And for VA home loans, for somebody who is using their benefits for the first time, their funding fee is 2.15% of their loan amount. And then for those who are reusing their benefits, it's 3.3%. But when someone has a service connected disability rating, they are exempt from having to pay that fee indefinitely, whether they're purchasing, whether they're refinancing, whether it's their fifth purchase or their 500th refinance. It does not matter. They are always going to be exempt from having to pay that fee. So that is something that can add up to thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars over the lifetime use of their VA home loan benefits. And that's why on the certificate of eligibility, it will state right on there if somebody is exempt or non-exempt, and if they have a service connected disability rating. And that's how the loan officer will know how to structure that loan application to make sure we're charging or not charging the right fees to that individual veteran.
And I think that this is something that really benefits such a large number of people who are even eligible anyway. So it's just additional savings on top of what they're already getting.
It does. And speaking of disability ratings too, there's actually been changes that have taken place in the beginning of this year that have impacted the ability for a surviving spouse to qualify for the use of their late military spouse's VA home loan benefits. Previously, it was that their late spouse needed to be killed in action or killed while serving, or not killed, but pass away while serving. And now, if they had a service connected disability rating 10 years prior to their passing, and then they passed away, they now qualify as well to be able to inherit that late military spouse's benefits. So, it's not always about someone who's passing away while serving. There's things that can impact that person for the rest of their life and their surviving spouse. And so the VA did make important changes going into the beginning of 2025 that is helping more and more folks who are in those circumstances be able to take advantage of the VA home loan benefits when they need it the most.
That's another thing that I think is so great about this benefit and being able to speak with you guys about it and do so many kind of educational resources for our community is because like you said, there's so many changes that are happening each year, whether it's increasing the loan amount or the benefit that you just mentioned with the deaths of your military spouse. So I think it's great that we're able to educate people on all of these things that have changed that maybe they wouldn't have thought they were eligible before, but now they understand that they are and can really utilize this benefit because it is so great. Um, well, we talked a little bit earlier about making sure that your lender does know all of the ins and outs of VA loans. And obviously, we know you're with Mutual of Omaha Mortgage. So, what makes you guys such a great lender for VA loans, and what should veterans know about working with you?
One of the things that I love is Mutual of Omaha Mortgage is powered by Mutual of Omaha Insurance, which is, an over 100-year-old insurance company that's based out of Omaha, Nebraska. And the relationship with serving those who serve really has started with our parent company because for over 100 years, they've been very passionate about connecting with service members and their families to make sure that they're able to provide purposeful impact in the different communities that we're present in across the country. And that's carried over to Mutual of Omaha Mortgage. And, we're so actively involved in different real estate organizations that have communities made up of veterans who are now real estate agents, military spouses who are now real estate agents, loan officers of the same, thing. We love hiring veterans and military spouses because who better to serve those who have served than those who have walked that journey themselves? And then being involved in so many different charitable organizations across the country. One of my most favorite recent events that I got to participate in is we sponsored a 5K in Las Vegas in February for the Klein Veterans Fund to be able to help out homeless veterans during their needs and getting them situated in a better housing, situation. And so we got together, it was a couple hundred of us. It was veterans, military spouses, real estate agents, loan officers, and we came together for the greater good of just having a positive impact in that community. So it's not just about bringing awareness of the VA home loan benefit, it's also a passion and a purpose of Mutual of Omaha Mortgage of how can we step up and serve in the individual communities in which we have a foothold. And that's one of the reasons that really attracted me to wanting to work here in the first place is everybody here just is so alert and attentive to what are the needs of veterans and active duty service members all across the country. How can we use all of our time and efforts to best serve them? And, company to date, we've donated almost $5 million to veteran organizations across the country from the different closings of our VA home loans and the different charitable initiatives that we take part in.
Yeah, that's really awesome, Chelsea. And one thing I wanted to highlight too about what veterans should know about working with you, and I hope that this is still something that you guys are doing or you can educate us on this. You had a rebate program at some point, or is that something that you still do?
We still do. Yep. So, one of the things that we love to be able to provide is amazing service to you by getting you connected with the right real estate agent who's also gone through extensive education about the VA home loan benefit. So, when you take a class with me through Orion Talent, you get about an hour, is usually how long it is. Well, guess what? If you ever come to us and you're in need of a VA loan specialized real estate agent, we make them go through a 4-hour masterclass series to learn how to best serve you with your VA home loan benefits. And then we have a master list of everybody in every location that's taken that class. And then when you need to be represented by a military-focused real estate agent, we'll not only connect you with them, knowing confidently that they're going to have the knowledge to best represent you, but they will also rebate you a portion of their commission at closing that you can use to buy new things for the home. Certain states will allow you to credit it towards your closing costs. There's a bunch of different options to be able to take part in that rebate, but they're doing that as a thank you for not just your service, but also allowing them the opportunity to serve you in your real estate transactions. So that's something that we love to be able to connect you guys with somebody who really knows confidently how to best serve you. Because there are folks out there that will try and steer you towards, oh, you don't want to use the VA home loan. Oh, it's expensive. It's not the right option. You should go with a conventional home loan or whatever the case may be. We don't have any of those folks in our database because we make sure, like I said, it is 4 hours of like VA loan boot camp for these real estate agents. So they're really understanding how to best serve a veteran and their needs when it comes to purchasing a home.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. I was like, I hope I'm not speaking out of turn. I know that there's a rebate
Yeah.
program. I just don't know the details of it. So thank you very much. That's awesome. Okay, Chelsea. Well, I really appreciate your time. You've been great. As we close, are there any resources that are available or next steps that people can take to learn more? I'll, of course, include the link to the site that we have with you guys that has a quick form that people can fill out to be contacted by one of your loan experts. But anything else that you would recommend if they want to dig into this a little bit more?
Also, too, we have a lot of resources on our website. So our website is mutualmortgage.com. We have a ton of resources on there about being prepared to become a homeowner, as well as extensive information about your VA home loan benefits. Now, of course, that doesn't make up for the actual human contact. So yes, please don't hesitate to fill out the form. You might hear from myself or some of our other amazing VA loan officers, many of them veterans and military spouses themselves, but we would love to answer any and all questions that anybody has. There's no such thing as a silly question. So we're happy to help out on any scenarios.
Awesome. Well, Chelsea, thank you so much for your time today. And I'm looking forward to everyone being able to listen to this and be able to hopefully take advantage of their VA loan benefit.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Thank you. Thanks for listening to this episode of Orion's From the Battlefield to the Boardroom podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes, Google Play, or SoundCloud so that you never miss an episode. We'd love to hear from you, so if you have any feedback, please send me an email at podcast@oriontalent.com. Our goal is to help all military job seekers through their transition and beyond, so make sure you share our show with your friends. See you next time.